If I had to shtup, marry, kill Aaron, Moses, and Miriam, I would have sex with Aaron, have a child with him for that sweet Kohen blood, marry Miriam, and I would kill Moses because he's in a relationship with God. Welcome back to another episode of And God Was Like. I'm your host, Arielle Kaplan. This week, I'm walking you guys through PARASHAT PINCHAS. Last week, we learned that Pinchas killed Zimri and Cosbi. Zimri was a Jewish prince. Cosbi was a Midianite princess. Pinchas stabbed them in the genitals. And now that we're all caught up, let's get into it. Chapter 25. Pinchas is rewarded for kissing God's tuchus. God speaks to Moses and he's like, dude, I really fuck with Pinchas. When Zimri whored himself out to that Midianite woman, I was like this close to wiping everyone out. Can you believe? But then Pinchas came in, killed them, and I really fucking vibed with that. As a reward, I'm gonna give him the priesthood. So then God declares war on the Midianites, which is like mad awkward because I'm pretty sure Moses' wife Zipporah was a Midianite. Chapter 26. So we know that the reason the Israelites were in the wilderness for 40 years is not because their Google Maps wasn't working or they were just like mad slow. They were punished by God. He wanted the generation that left Egypt to die in the wilderness. And so that plague has finally finished. The rabbis say only the men died. The women loved Israel so much that God didn't punish them. So here's where the Israelites stand right now. A bunch of them were just killed for having sex. The remaining Israelites are all of a new generation and like their bubbies. And so God commands Moses to take another census. Moses and his sidekick Eliezer take a census of the community of men ages 20 and up. Why? They're about to enter the promised land and they're gonna have to take it back from whoever's there. So God wants to make sure that the Israelites are ready to engage in battle. God wants to show the nation that he's still cool with them. He wants to be like, yo, you're the ones who are gonna enter the land. So hopefully there isn't any more sinning, although I do love a juicy Midianite whore story. And by the way, I've been saying whore just because that's what the text translates to, but we should really say sex worker for all sex work. Moses then allots each tribe a portion of land depending on how much space they actually need. Chapter 27. This is a really good one, you guys. After Moses allots all the land, the daughters of Zelophehad of the tribe of Manasseh have a bone to pick with Moses and God. So these 5 daughters march on over to Moses and they're essentially facing the entire patriarchy, which at this time, very scary. No one was doing this. Women at this time were essentially hidden from public life. We know that because they're rarely ever mentioned in the Torah. It's like a huge deal when they are. So these 5 daughters, Mala, Noah, my middle name is Noah, so she's my fave, Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah, band together, they go up to Moses and they're like, yo, our father died in the wilderness. He wasn't a rebel or anything, and like, yes, he did sin and that's why he died, but it's kind of fucked up that just because we don't have any brothers or husbands that we don't get a share of Israel. Like, where's our land? So Moses goes to God, presents him the case, and God is like, you know what? That's valid. They can have the land. And from this day forth, there will be a new set of inheritance laws. If a father dies and doesn't have any sons, then the land will go to his daughters. If he doesn't have any kids, then the land will go to his brothers. And I don't know, man, if there's no one else, just like fucking give it to the closest relative. And now for the commentary section on the Daughters of Zelophehad. Here's what the rabbis say. They were wise because they took action immediately. They were astute interpreters because they did understand that if they had brothers, then they wouldn't get any land. And they were pious because they weren't just about to marry any Joseph Shmoseph off the street so that they could get land. They wanted to marry for love and dick or pussy. The Daughters of Zelophehad confidently knew that this sexist shit was whack as fuck and literally brought their case to God. That's insane. And that God gave them the land? A feminist coup, ladies. At least they would have been hailed for being feminist trailblazing bitches, if not for an amendment to this law later on that ruled, yeah, women do need to marry an Israelite man to have land. And that law was instated just so that we wouldn't marry outside of the tribe, which is cuckoo bananas. So that really sucks. But nevertheless, Jewish women persisted. Judith Eisenstein became the first woman to have a bat mitzvah. Regina Jonas became the first ordained female rabbi. She later perished in the Holocaust. In 1969, nice, Golda Meir became the first female prime minister of Israel. In 1975, Del Williams opened the first sex toy store just for women. And in 1986, Judith Resnick became the first woman to travel to space. So we can look to the Daughters of Zelophehad as inspiration for making the world a better place, tikkun olam, motherfucker. Or, because those stories probably didn't happen, we can look to real historical Jewish women, Del Williams, Golda Meir, Hedy Lamarr, I love her, RBG, who got shit done. Well, that was a nice little story. And now we're moving on. God addresses Moses and he's like, hey man, when you get to the mountains of transition, I want you to look at Israel, okay? Everything that the light touches is absolutely not yours, because remember, you done fucked up at the waters of Meribah with Aaron when you hit the rock, even though I explicitly told you to speak to the rock. Anyway, I don't have to remind you about that. I'm sure you remember. So I just wanted you to see what Israel looked like before I kill you like your brother. So Moses is like, sure, you should probably choose who my successor is because, you know what's best. Before Moses even finishes his sentence, accepting his capital punishment for hitting a rock, God is like, it's Joshua. Joshua is gonna replace you. I've been eyeing him for a while. He's super cute. I'm excited to get to know him. Show him the ropes, all right? Chapter 28. And 9, because both of these are boring and long. God just describes a lot of different types of offerings. The only holiday offering I do care to talk about is the new moon offering. Obviously happens every month. You have to sacrifice 2 bulls, a ram, and 7 lambs. Should we do that, you guys? I'm kidding if you guys are kidding, but if not, my DMs are open. Chapter 30. So Moses tells the Israelites everything just as God had commanded him. That's it. That's the entire chapter. Next week on the season finale of Bamidbar, the Israelites battle the Midianites. The tribes of Reuben and Gad decide they don't want to live in Israel. And more on the Daughters of Zelophehad. Shabbat shalom.